All right, this is our third day in 9.3. We're still simplifying radicals. Today we're going to use the conjugate to simplify radicals. So the conjugate of 3 minus the square root of 5 is 3 plus the square root of 5. The conjugate of the square root of 7 plus 5 is the square root of 7 minus 5. The conjugate of 3 root 3 plus 2 root 6 is 3 root 3 minus 2 root 6. And the conjugate of the square root of 3 minus the square root of 6 is the square root of 3 plus the square root of 6. So really, the conjugate just means you flip the sign. We use this to get to remove the radical sign from the denominator, and I'm going to show you how. All right, number 1 is 5. Let me get a pen here, maybe. 5 divided by 6 minus the square root of 7. So we're going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by that conjugate. You just change the middle sign. So here we have 5 times 6 plus the square root of 7. And here in the denominator, we have 6 minus the square root of 7 times the quantity of 6 plus the square root of 7. We're going to have to kind of distribute on the top. So I have 30 plus 5 times the square root of 7. And the bottom we're going to have to FOIL. Going back to that previous chapter where I said this wasn't going to go away. So we're going to multiply 6 times 6. All right, these in the middle, they cancel. So we are left with 36 minus the square root of 49, which is 7. So let's put this all together. So up here, I have 30 plus 5 root 7 over 36 minus 7, which is 29. And I know when you compare the original and the second one, it doesn't really seem like this is a more simplified version, but this is how it works. All right, number 2. We have 9 divided by 12 plus the square root of 3. So again, let's multiply by the conjugate. We're going to use the opposite sign. So I have 9 times 12 minus the square root of 3. And down here, we're going to FOIL. So here I have 108, because 9 times 12 is 108, minus 9 root 3. And on the bottom, I have 12 times 12, which is 144. Oop, let's go back a little. These two center terms cancel each other out, so we have 144 minus the square root of 9, which is 3. So now we have 108 minus 9 root 3 over 141. All right, so here's something you need to check for. You need to check the terms on the outside, which will be these, to see if they can be simplified. And this only works if all 3 of them can be simplified with the same greatest common factor. And if you look, 3 goes into all of those. So when we divide all of those by 3, we end up with 36 minus 3 root 3 over 47. So when you're done, make sure that you can simplify it just a little further. Number 3 is 4 over 2 root 2 plus 1. Now we're going to use the conjugate. Multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate. We're just going to flip the signs. So here we have 4 times 2 root 2 minus 1. We're going to FOIL on the bottom. All right, distribute here. We have 8 root 2 minus 4. And if we take this, we have 4 root 4. And if we go to the inside, we have 2 root 2 minus 2 root 2 minus 1. Those two inside terms cancel. The square root of 4 is 2. Pull it out. So we have 8 minus 1. So we're going to simplify to 8 root 2 minus 4 over 7. Can't simplify any further, so we're done. All right, we got a couple more here. The next one is 3 root 2 over the square root of 2 minus 1. Let's get using that conjugate. Multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate. So here I have 3 root 2 times the square root of 2 plus 1 on the quantity. Here, do a little FOILing. All right. So right there, I have 3 root 4 plus 3 root 2 over the square root of 4 minus the square root of 2 plus the square root of 2 minus 1. Cancel those out. The square root of 4 is 2. So now let's simplify a little further. I'm going to go up here. So I'm right here. 3 times the square root of 4 is really 6 because the square root of 4 is 2. Bring it out. So 6 plus 3 root 2 over 1 is 6 plus 3 root 2. Okay? One more. All right, we have 4 over the square root of 6 plus the square root of 1. Yes, that's my dog. All right, I'm going to multiply by the conjugate, which is the square root of 6 minus the square root of 1. All right, well, I got rid of the dog, so we will continue. So I'm going to multiply also the numerator by the conjugate. So here I'm going to have 4 times the quantity of the square root of 6 minus the square root of 1 over. Okay, let's deal with the top first. So we have 4 root 6 minus 4 root 1 over the square root of 36 minus the square root of 6 plus the square root of 6 minus the square root of 1. All right. So let's cross those out in the middle, and let's go up here and see what we have. So the 4 root 6 and 4 times the square root of 1, we often forget that 1's a perfect square. So we're pulling out 1, so this will be minus 4. And down on the bottom here, the square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 1 is 1, so we have 4 root 6 minus 4. Oops, hold on, I should have wrote down a different number here. This should be 4 root 6, not 5 root 6, and 6 minus 1 is 5. So we have 4 root 6 minus 4 over 5, and we're done. All righty. Hang in there. I'll talk to you tomorrow.